They don't.
You want to throw in a kiss my ass? Anyway, no, that's not your style.
I fix things. I don't have time for the politics.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, what do you have here? You've got, what do you have, about 50,000 drop targets?
Yeah, well, you know, they break, and each style is different, each machine's different. I try to carry the ones that are unique to certain machines. I see a lot, you know, these are Gottliebs mostly. And these all fit certain Gottliebs that I do a lot of work on, like Spider-Man and Haunted House are mixed in here, and then you've got...
time out. Haunted House.
Yeah.
Did you know that Haunted House and Spider-Man drop targets are not the same?
No, they're not, yeah.
We won't go into what happened there.
The web count is different.
Yeah.
Joker Poker, you know, and this one has sets of targets. Which one's it?
Counter Force.
That's it.
Okay, yeah.
And there are a couple other that use the star targets. By the way, this is the one that I could have got for the stern, the lopsided star, but that doesn't look...
Okay, well, I got an answer for that.
Anyway, you might notice that when we covered stern Sea Witch, this was the drop target. And you can see Gottlieb is a little different in the way they construct their...
But still same idea,
targets.
spring attaches in the middle.
Yeah, but they don't use this annoying linkage at the bottom to reset the target. They just have a paddle on the bottom, which is there on this anyway, just hits the target. It's a simpler design. Gottlieb drop targets in their solid states and their EMs are similar, and they're a much easier... The spring's harder to hook on, that's for sure, but they're a much easier replacement to do.
I see the ends break off of the Gottliebs a lot. Do you see that on the Bally's?
Yeah, no, because it slams up into
That's your catch, yeah.
Yeah, but it takes a long time to break that. As the plastic gets brittle, they'll usually break off the top first, right here where the ball hits.
Daddy East.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So really, that's all this is, displaying different kinds. You know, and here is a Bally as opposed to a stern. This is an 8-ball deluxe, I think, or 8-ball champ.
Okay, extremely similar.
Yeah, the only difference is what they did here.
Where the ledge is.
Yeah, and where the ledge is most important, because the ledge is way down here.
Yeah.
Bally's ledge is here. You can see they molded it the same, but they added this. And that's one of the reasons why stern drop targets aren't as resettable, or they don't respond as well as Bally's, because this is a more simple design. The foot here is a lot smaller than the foot here. That's why. But other than that, they're mostly identical here.
They use the same links and keepers through the bottom.
Right, right. This is a downstop link, or a downstop, and where stern doesn't have that. And that keeps the target at the same height. That's adjustable.
Oh, and that'll be adjustable with a couple of screws on the bottom of the assembly.
So this is very different, but you cannot really put this in a stern. And of course, the top's different too. So you really can't do a Bally stern.
Drop targets are available for most games, really even game specific,
right,
through Pinball Resource does all the Gottliebs, I would assume, and just don't ask them for a Spider-Man or a Haunted House. Don't tell them that Haunted House is different than Spider-Man. Just tell them you want that and a full set of them, and you'll get a matching set of something.
Data East did this.
That looks like a Capcom.
And then Capcom.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So these are meant for ball rollovers. That's why they're so wide.
Okay. Well, that's an important point. If your target has a thick top on it, it's in a hole that the ball will travel over.
That's correct.
Whereas the thin-topped ones are a bank with a stop behind it of some sort.
Right. So, and then there's I think it's Data East target.
Could again be Capcom. They're very similar.
Right. And then, of course, you change over into electronic machines, and you have two different kinds. Most of these are what is in current-day electronic machines.
Again, the wide head for rollover.
Right, and then the spring hooks here, it's easier. And then there is a flag here for an opto, and this is the board that these work with. And what it'll do is it'll slide down in front of the opto and come up, and that's how it registers.
That's how it reports. Okay.
Yes. There's a compression spring here and the stud. Much like this housing, only they use the studs here for this, and then you'll have your compression spring and a keeper to hold this on.
Okay.
A little different mechanics, not much.
Oh wait, I think we have that. Well, here's Jimmy's Elvira that opto board is off of.
Right, and this is the actual mechanics here to hold it in. What it does is it biases the target back
Forward,
and forth,
yeah.
yes, at the top, and then the bottom keeper is just there to hold things together. You really don't need that. Keeper doesn't do anything except guide the target.
Okay, and in the down position, it blocks the opto.
Right.
Pretty,
That's a simple mechanic.
pretty simple. I guess you see failures there with the opto itself, and you replace the opto in the
Yeah, they
field.
make the boards, the whole circuit board. If you have a burn up or hacked up connector area, or somebody tore traces off, or if it gets deeper into the component level, you know, you can replace the board. There's little rubber grommets on here. They have to go back on because that keeps the board spaced right. You don't.
Has Rotten Dog fixed that issue yet? We had what was that? It was Taxi.
Taxi.
It was Taxi. We went to put a new MPU,
Right.
System 11 MPU,
Yeah.
And-
System 11A.
and Rotten Dog could not. It wasn't recognizing the opto. I guess the voltage, the signal that comes out of it is different than a regular leaf switch. So
Yeah, this signal wasn't generating enough of a drop in, I guess, voltage or whatever signal they're using to go back to the MPU, and it wasn't recognizing the difference. A switch will, but you'd have to do a lot of fabricating to get that to happen.
so
He couldn't. It came down to his resistor bank on the MPU board. It just wasn't. Williams Bally used SRCs, which is a capacitor resistor bank. They don't on the Rotten Dog. They use a different design, and they couldn't make it work.
So at this point, as far as we know,
Not compatible.
there is no new boards available for
New
System
MPU,
11,
yeah, MPU
11A.
driver. Yeah, 11A.
Or does that qualify for any game that has opto drop targets?
Yeah.
Even the new stuff.
Now the 11C board works for some reason.
Okay, so it's
I
the
don't-
11A. It's the Taxi.
Right.
Whatever else is in that bunch.
Pinbot.
Pinbot, yeah. So if you got a bad-looking System 11A board, deal with it.
Yeah, I imagine you'll figure it out one day, and in the new manufacturing, maybe they'll incorporate something that's going to work.
But no, nothing derogatory towards them. We love their stuff.
Yeah,
they'll
stock
get
plenty of it.
they'll get it figured out sooner or later. We appreciate the availability of any of it.
Yep. You can replace these optos if they go bad. They're available, and they're just 4 solder points. And if you have one dirty, you'd clean it first. I usually like to soap and water these boards and air dry them, and then it gives everything, you know, it's clean.
That's another newbie thing. You can't really damage that most circuit boards, including that one, by washing them. You can put them in a dishwasher or
I wouldn't do dishwasher. There's too much heat. A dishwasher is hot. It's good to clean parts, though, but the wife might not like that. I know people that do, but I don't know about circuit boards. That's awful.
But generally speaking, you can put that in
That's
your
sensitive.
sink, and you can wash it with a thin paintbrush type of brush,
Spray soap of any kind, yeah.
and just wash it and leave it in the drip dry. And when it's dried out, you're good to go.
Yeah, air it off if you're in a hurry. That's what I do. I've never hurt one doing that. I even wash Mega Touch boards, any of them. Electronics aren't going to be damaged by it. If you have intricate parts attached to it, like if you're leaving chips in sockets, that's not a good idea. You don't want to take your chips out of the sockets because the water may not come out of there.
Oh.
So you got to use some common sense with cleaning stuff like that. Some of the board dirt is conductive, so that's why it's nice to clean it. Even though this is sprayed with a coating, which is why these little traces are blue, it has a dielectric coating on to keep surface dirt from conducting, because you're running with very small milliamperage and current here, milliamp current and voltage, so you don't want any resistance. So that's why you want to keep dirt off the thing. Well, if you get enough of dirt like these things gather,
You'll get a
conducts
failure.
electricity. Yeah, you get
Goofy,
some strange stuff.
goofy things will happen.
Yeah. And of course, this is a Williams drop target. This happens to be
Wait,
Gorgar.
I was going to get that one. That was an easy one.
Oh, okay. What is it?
That's a Gorgar, which is that's a system 4. But really, what we're about to say is 1 through 4.
3 through 7. System 4 and 6 was Gorgar. Some Gorgars had 4, and then they went to System 6. They skipped 5 because it really was only for one game, and then they went right to 7 to get the 7 digits.
Pen and Fever.
Yep. Anyway, this is the circuit board that Williams came up with. This bolts onto here. They soon later got away from this because of the intricacy of it, and it's very hard. You don't want to make these have too much contact, or they just are too slow and don't drop.
Well, they shot the design to the moon there for a reason. They were trying to. They had a board system that didn't want to see more than one switch closed at a time.
Pulse.
It didn't want to see 2 switches closed at the same time. It didn't know how to compute that. So they designed this monstrosity of a drop target switch so that it would pass through the center section, which would report the switch, and then
come off of
and then the bottom of it would be an inline and in series with the other ones, and would complete a full closed switch when all of them were down.
Right.
And of course, up was just open.
So they got away from this. This was used in early games like Flash and Gorgar and Firepower and such.
You know when I learned that?
They got away from
about all that. I bet you know when I learned that. Take a guess.
No, I don't remember.
Sean Rupert's drop target. What was that thing? Firepower. The drop target Firepower mod, and I encourage everybody to go over and take a look at that video. We were doing I guess it was a CPR playfield in that thing, and he wanted the drop target mod, and the CPR playfield was prepped for it. And so I had this 18 pages of instructions, and I'm going through our piles and piles of used old Williams drop target assemblies, because you can't get the brackets and stuff new. You gotta recycle on that point.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'm going to use what makes the most sense to me, which was the switches at the bottom, because I know that these things are a nightmare. And I got about halfway done, and then I figured out, it ain't going to work because the CPU is going to reject what I'm doing. So I backed off, and I had to put it together. What do you do with these in the field, Ray, when you see them and they're worn out? Or
well, they don't usually wear out, but yeah, some will actually wear through like this, but very, very seldom. I usually clean these with a fiberglass brush, and it shines them up. I mean, you can use 600 sandpaper if you want, but the fiberglass brush is easy. And then, of course, you got to make sure that you don't fatigue the wires and they fall off, because they will come off.
Yeah, it's probably even best to even start from scratch with a lot of that at this point.
These crossover wires.
Oh, and these holes are always stripped out.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
This was their later version in Black Knight. This does not use these.
But the assembly's the same.
Right, the assembly's the same. They added this to actually bias the target forward, this spring leaf. So you don't want to have too much tension on that, but you don't have none. And
the switch was set on the bottom,
bolted
to
to
the bottom.
Yeah, it trips a full-sized micro switch. And that was a much more reliable, and that was when you said they changed operating MPUs. That's what that was. They went from that to the switch that can stay on, and the CPU knew it and didn't care.
Black Knight.
Yeah.
Might have even been the changeover machine at that point.
Could be. And after that, shortly after Black Knight, the stuff started using optos. But they did use a mixture of optos and the micro switch type with that.
Really, I don't see any problem with the micro switch or even a.
You can take this out and just disconnect the 12 volts and use your circuit for.
Yeah. Well, I've seen these with leaves on the bottom too. I guess that when they first, I've seen them with leaves on the bottom.
That's right. That was a earlier version. Then they went to the enclosed micro switch. Yeah, the leaf. Yeah, you're right. The leaf was. I think this is a special. Whoa.
Oh wait, don't tell me. I know what game that's to.
They break here and it breaks right off.
We had that game. Maybe we didn't have that game. What is that?
big, isn't it?
Shadow?
Yes.
Is that for the
That's the wall, yeah.
the wall in the shadow? Well, we've never had a shadow through the shop.
Right, I stocked that because people.
I've only seen one in walking by.
This is a key to the game.
How did I get that right when I didn't? I've never even played that game.
But they break here, and then the thing don't work. No.
Any
And
other
they wear out?
Any other specialty drops in this pile?
No, just sets. There's Common Valley, Bullseyes.
We mentioned Steve Young, who the Pinball Resource. For you're going to call him for the Gottliebs. I think he does most of the Bally's as well. A secondary source for that would be Jeff at Classic Arcades. He's got a ton of hot stamp targets. I guess he's a licensed distributor for the Bally Williams, and he's got a nice selection, like the Rolling Stones targets that we got on that. Did you get the Drac or the what is that thing, or the Sea Witch? Where'd you get those from? You got those from Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff at Classic, what's up, man? I think he's there. I did my shout out.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know who you got ready.
I forget.
Yeah, okay. Well, what else can you tell me about this? You got Boxo Junk, which is
Oh yeah, handy little parts for sterns, because you're never going to get this stuff anywhere. This is what Stern used as a return spring on their targets, and
so I guess this is another key to some entry level people that are maybe looking for a hobby game to get. Mm-hmm. Old Sterns like the Sea Witch over there, Dracula,
right.
Trident, all that stuff. They're a little tough, just based on parts availability. There's very little parts support for those things.
Even nowadays.
At least from what I can see, you can get a flipper rebuild kit for anything except for that.
Right. There's very few parts made. Pinball Resource makes a few things like the flipper link, and
but you still can't get it all. You can't get the bell cranking.
The hub, no.
No. That stuff and the brackets and all that. You're in trouble.
You need a parts playfield.
So unless you're really into fabricating from scratch.
We've done a few, and each one of them has been a tough go.
Yeah, and each one's stolen from the one behind it, and I think Sea Witch is the last one. So if you're having trouble working on that one, Ray, that's why.
Yeah.
Because we've stolen from it 50 times. Oh wait, there's an orbiter behind it. There's an orbiter. Maybe we'll never do the orbiter. I'm going to steal the spinning jet bumpers, like the spinning, you call them pop bumpers. I'm stealing them off of that. They're going on a roller disco. Well, we shot a portion of this video earlier this week with the rebuilding of the Sea Witch drop targets. So we'll cut to that here. And unless you have anything else you want to explain about your vast collection of drop targets, would you use all these? Mm-hmm. See any other failures in the field with drop targets? No,
they break off.
Coil wire falls off.
Yeah, and it's impossible to carry all the stickers. I mean, I carry some of those hot stamped things, but when you're doing a game that has a sticker on it, the customer really can put the sticker on.
Well, yeah.
I don't carry artwork that way because it's just too volatile. In a mobile truck, it gets hot and that kind of thing. So I really don't get into that. But
well, it's difficult to stock a large number of game-specific parts.
Yeah, there's probably thousands of different stickers.
You stock platform-specific stuff, and you try to have all of that fails.
Right. So if you have a blank, you can add your own artwork later because it's clean and it'll stick right to it. As far as drops, no, it's just a mechanical device. You've got to do a few to get experience. They're very small. It's best to pull any of them off the playfield and work on them. Don't try to work on it hanging into the pinball machine. You're going to tear wiring, you're going to bend stuff, short stuff out.
Yeah.
Best to take it off because the rest of the thing is dirty. You clean it and then do your work on it with, unless you're doing something really simple.
Well, it's another case of dirt's your enemy with a drop target. Those things are sensitive. If they're dirty, they're not going to work right.
No, they won't fall down. They won't come up. They won't record.
And don't be afraid to if you've got a coil holding you from pulling the thing out. Don't be afraid to cut those wires. Just leave your little nub there as a reference.
Color reference.
Because it's going to be best for you to resolder that anyway.
Yep, because it's generally
you're in there for service. It's probably extremely fatigued. So don't be afraid to cut it out and work on it on the bench.
Most of the time, when wires are fatigued, you get this. This wire is a stranded wire.
It fell off without much effort.
It was hanging on by like 2 strands. It's best to cut this back just a very little bit, get all new strands, twist it, and solder it on. Same thing with coil wires. You know, this stuff is shaking around in pinball machines. You know, it's doing this when you're playing just very lightly, but it's going to break itself off. I wouldn't suggest going through and doing all of it, because there are several hundred solder points in the machine.
Well, sure.
But when you're in there disturbing something, you're going to cause it to fall off.
Well, when you're doing a playfield swap,
Right.
You still don't do it, but even what you did over there on the Sea Witch, you take a visual inventory and you start at either the top or the whichever way you have the playfield situated.
That one over there, I did at least 50.
And you work your way down and you visually inspect it, and you probably touching each wire and moving it to see if it's going to fall off or not.
You can see. You don't have to move it. You can see the conductors are almost all going.
And don't be lazy when you're servicing your machine. You know, what's the funny thing we say? If you don't want to find something wrong with these things, don't look.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're servicing your drop targets, while you're there, take a look in the immediate area, and if you see anything that's about to fail, get it.
Watch when you bolt your drop targets back up to the playfield. Use the right screw lengths.
Oh, yeah.
You will go right up through.
Well, that applies to every assembly.
Yes, but especially drop targets, because if they've been on and off, and the wooden holes are rounded, and somebody else says, well, I'll just put a bigger screw in there. They weren't minding the length of it. It'll make a little bump on the top of the playfield.
Yeah, how often have we seen screws through tops of playfields?
So that's just a common sense thing. And
I've decided I'm not going to mention people who put in deck screws.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done with them.
That would be TNT.
Oh, no, you said it. I didn't say you weren't going to say it. I just said I wasn't going. I'm done
Hey,
with
they're
them.
not the only ones I've seen.
I'm done with them
They're in a
fools.
hurry, man.
It's a carnival up there.
You want to repair the hole instead of putting a bigger diameter screw in it.
Okay.
The hole in the wood you can repair easily. I like to use a round toothpick. These things are nice to use. And you can just go into the hole with a round toothpick. I like to use wood glue because
dab a little bit of adhesive on it of
this
some
way
sort.
when you subtract it in the future, your toothpick doesn't fall out. And the wood glue will not stick to the steel screw.
Okay.
You can put this in, break it off. If it's a real big hole, you can
Put in 2.
Put in 2 or 3, break them off, or you can use side cutters and cut it flush, and then you'll have a good wooden repair to wood, with wood. And then the glue will dry, and then you'll have a
nice hole.
Yeah. And then you put your factory number 6 or 4 screw. I think they're usually 6.
Mostly 6s.
Wood screws by ½ inch, I guess.
Well, I've been doing this for a while, and you haven't stopped me, so it must not be the world's worst idea. But I stock number 7s.
Yeah, that's neat.
Whenever I'm doing a job like a playfield swap, I don't even have time to think about whether or not the hole's stripped or not. I'm not cleaning up old hardware, and I'm not tumbling old hardware.
They used to use 7s in certain places, especially drop targets, because that's a high stress area.
I've got 7s in hex.
Yep.
And I use them in assembly just because, not because I'm in a hurry, but because I don't want to waste time. And I don't want to toothpick 50 holes, because whatever I'm doing here, that Elvira playfield, even though somebody, Robert Winter and team did a superb job of restoring the playfield, they were concentrating on the top side, and whatever they were working on before had miles on it. And I don't want to fool with holes. I stock 7s, and I just...
Well, for you, that's a good idea, but for somebody that's just doing their repair on a few holes.
Well, yeah.
But that is a good idea, and some of these guys started using oversized hardware on this stuff because there's a lot of stress on that target bank, and it's heavy. So they do use those larger ones.
Because if I go to put that back in the machine, and what is it, 8 screws hold it in?
Oh, 4.
Oh, one in each corner, 4.
Yeah, and sometimes they use these 2, so 6.
Well, whichever.
They never use these.
Whichever, they're all shot.
Right.
Because that thing's been hit so many times, and if it's been on and off a couple times, those holes are shot.
Yeah, they are.
I'm tired. What day is it? I guess it must be Thursday because I got to post this thing tonight. You got anything else about drop targets?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna patch our little see which job on this, and
I think this covers what's available and it gives a little overview of what to do.
And that was for Gary S. was his name. See, now I remembered it this time, I think.
Beauty.
So we appreciate. He asked for Bally. We showed him Stern. Gary, if you have any real specific questions or anything, we're easy to get a hold of. Shoot us an email, give us a call, whatever. We'll be happy to talk to you. And I guess that's all we have for drop targets. Ray, we're going to have to cut this so that I can paste the ending after the Stern thing.
Okay.
So I'm just going to turn this off, and I've got a blinking thing. We got 1 minute left.
Well, goodbye, everybody.
Good.
I hope this helps with some of your questions about drops.
I didn't cut it.
Oh.
Pretend we're cutting.
Cutting.
Okay, Ray, we don't need an introduction on this because this is going in the middle of the drop target tech video.
Yeah.
But we're shooting this section a little bit early because we're working on the sea witch here, and Ray got to the point where he's working on I guess he's got 2 of the 3 sets of drop targets done, and so we're going to stuff in the 3rd section here so you can see how a set of old Stern drop targets are rebuilt, and we're going to do them in under 5 minutes.
Under.
So show us what we're up to here, Ray.
All right. Well,
I need you to talk really fast because we got to do this in under 5 minutes.
Yeah. If you're worried about a time constraint on anything, whether it's a tech video or working on a machine or anything, don't start.
Well, it's a mentality.
Don't start on it because time shouldn't be your enemy, and you shouldn't address anything in a hurry because nothing good gets done in a hurry.
No. Well, it's a mentality. You know, they've been doing that for years. They go to the arcade auctions and the operator auctions, and they buy the cheapest stuff they can find,
Right.
and they refurbish them to the point of where they think they can sell them, and they do that in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that's what they're used to. We're not about that. We stay on them. We're attention to detail, and we
You
we
can
devote
look
the
at
time.
this and see the work done.
Yeah, that was not.
You
done
don't need a before.
in
That's
5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Well, and we'll come back to that later. Have fun with those guys.
all right.
Does this thing have a vary target?
No.
Well, if it did, I could rebuild it in under 5 minutes.
These drop target assemblies were made by Stern. They don't resemble Bally's or Gottlieb or Williams. It was kind of their own thing. If anything, they resemble a Bally closer than Williams. And,
Well, that's common. Stern did the early Sterns were a lot of Bally copy stuff.
yeah. I guess the first thing is you've got heavy metal assemblies to deal with. You can't do the work in the machine by hanging the part off. It'll destroy other things. Because the underside of playfields are delicate. You've got wiring, you've got terminals that are very close proximity. You don't want to short anything. So if you go trying to lean this on something to work on it without taking it out of the machine, it's not a good idea. That's true with Gottlieb's or any drop target assembly. It should be done out of the machine. Sometimes it's a matter of unsoldering wires and unscrewing mounted components. Sometimes it's just a matter of taking a few screws out. Stern did their things different than Bally and Gottlieb. Their switch plates are bolted on with 3 screws or 2 depending on how big it is. This one has 2. And they used a lot of flatheads in this day, I don't know why. Bally and Williams, you actually have to take the screws off the targets.
The switches themselves.
Yeah. Or unsolder wires. I find it easier just to take the screws off and let the switch banks hang. But Stern did this, which is kind of handy.
That's not bad.
No, and then you can set this aside. And
You know, obviously clean and adjust that before you put it back in.
Yeah, and what you should use is, I like to use 600 sandpaper. It's automotive type, wet dry, and 600, if you pinch the points together, 600 will clean the point really well. And another thing about sandpaper as opposed to a file is it's kind of spongy. I mean, it has some kind of shape to it. You can see it cleans the whole point. as opposed to what they used to look like, which is that and that.
I'll hold still.
But it'll get more surface off than a flat file because it's
It contours itself to
yeah,
this
it does.
shape.
Yeah, it's very easy. And you just drag it one way, pinch them, and then you get a nice result out of it. It's easy. And it doesn't tear off any more material than you should. And you can use this over and over. I mean, you can flip it around. I usually triple fold it. You know, take it. And,
You said it's 600?
yeah, 600. Don't go any coarser. Tears too much surface off. It ain't necessary.
Okay. So we'll adjust them when we reassemble it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Next, you're going to want to get the mount mounted assembly off. And in this case, they use Phillips screws, which is interesting. Changed over. There's probably 4 that usually hold these on. These are heavy metal assemblies. If you have any stripped wood screws, you want to fix that.
What if you have deck screws? Well, then you also have a sticker on your apron.
Yeah, sticker, yeah. Now before I take the last part loose here, I like to take the coil off. I like to.
That's a big honking coil.
Yeah,
on
it
that
is.
thing.
That's overkill, I think, but that's what they made. And here again, we're back to flat screws on this.
Okay, I need you to stop at this point and put it back together because our 5 minutes are up.
5 minutes are up, yeah. You gotta loosen the top plate on these because it doesn't come out. The bottom plate's too near the angle down there at Portazone. Because you can't get the end stop out unless you take the top off. Because that allows you to swing it out here. And the end stop on these are really large. I mean, that's a huge end
Oh my
stop.
lord, look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, that's deep, big thing. And then you can take your coil off, sleeve. They used to use aluminum.
Yeah, I see an aluminum sleeve in there.
Yeah, plastic is a better way to go. And then you can take your last screw out here.
So we're electronically disconnected at this point.
Yes. And that's the way to work. Then you can clean your play field here. If you're so inclined, I'd clean this, you know, this was all
Well, yeah,
like
we're cleaning up in here.
Yeah, they get dirty. It's just a formality, but this is your assembly. And these are your return springs, your links and keepers. It's a rather elaborate assembly. And I guess next we'll go to the workbench and I'll show you how to take this apart. Because you don't need to take it all apart. There's only a few things you need to take apart to change it. There's a missing fastener here that we didn't even need to take out. Somebody, it fell out, I guess. I'll have to put that back.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Get to the bench.
We'll cut here and go to the bench.
Okay, back. This is on the bench. Nice place to work on it. There are many kinds of drop target artworks, so you want to make sure you put the right ones on your machine. If you really don't care, I guess you could put blank whites. The stern S goes on these, the blue S.
Okay, yeah. Here's the new repros. I believe
That
these
actually looks like a zigzag.
I believe these came from Jeff at Classic Arcades. He hot stamps a bunch of these repro targets, which is nice.
Okay, well, the next part of this segment of this video, we're going to show you what different kinds there are and what different types of machines and banks that target assemblies are done in. You know, this will be just a stern, early stern. Since I was doing one, it'd be handy to cover it. They put a keeper on here,
E-clip.
which is not needed really because it's set screwed.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it ain't going anywhere. It was probably for assembly. To get these out, now I'm doing more than you really need to because I am going to glass bead this and wash it.
Well, this is a restoration piece. It's not we're not doing it in 5 minutes.
I don't want it to be dirty, and you've got friction here, you know, at the pivot point, friction down here, and because everything's all dirty. So this is why I'm going to pay a little more attention to resto pieces. If you're in the field working on these, you can clean this with WD-40 and air, or just WD-40 and wipe it off. Some people just put them in and don't do anything. With all this dirt, you know, behind the latch plate here,
it all works against you.
Yeah, it does. And some valleys are really particular about when you take a working drop target that's not broke, it just happens to be ugly, put a new one in, your new one might bind up because you've disturbed the dirt, and now it's going to cause you a problem, and you didn't have it before, or you were replacing a working target. Well, it's something people should be aware of when you get into this. It's sort of like doing anything else that has a complicated procedure to it. If you do just part 1 of a 10-step or part 3, then you left out all of the beginning and the end, it's not going to be a good result at the end. You got to do it all. So you really should do it all. Not everybody has access to a glass beater. What I would suggest is soap and water, and then air dry it. And then you could get rid of the dirt if you don't have access to machines. But there's all kinds of ways to make it work.
But then again, this is representative of the difference between field work and
right.
And really not that you pay attention to what you're doing in the field, but the customer calls and says, I have a broken drop target. Well, there's only they want you to be done in under 5 minutes. They don't want this kind of detailed work.
There's shortcuts to everything.
But if you care about your machine, and that's what these tech videos are really about, is for people that care about what they're doing, and they're not in a rush to do it. They want to do it right. So this is the correct way to do it.
Correct.
So where you at?
Anyway, if you're not going to take it apart, you don't need to address the shafts and the assemblies. You will need a screwdriver and a spring hook. You don't want to misshape these springs as you're taking them on and off. And if you do it by hand, you're going to bend them. And if you disturb the clearance between the loop and here and make this weaker, they're not going to work right. So a spring hook like this, this is a miniature tool. It has a hook end on it, and it's a captive spring hook. There are different types of spring hooks available. This you can actually cling onto the spring, and it won't let go till you let go of it.
Neat.
And this is what you should use for this. If you use pliers, then you're going to kill the spring. I can get these on and off very easy.
I want one of those for Christmas, please.
And most people are going to struggle with this because they don't have this. You should have this. They're cheap.
Put it on my Christmas list.
Yeah. And then to put them back on, you can either use that, or if you don't have access to find this or don't want to buy a specialty tool, these are handy for a lot of stuff. They're bandage pliers. These won't misshape the spring either, and they actually clamp onto it, hold it, and you can put it back on with these as well. You just have to get into the loop, and then you can use these. You just have to have a little more finesse with it. This is a lot easier.
Tricky. I'm a little surprised to see that this thing appears to have the correct original springs. They're all there.
Yeah, and
they're not all botched and beat up.
Right.
9 times out of 10, you're going to encounter that, and you're going to see 3 different springs on there, and they're all
you don't want you don't want too much of the wrong tension on here, because it won't reset, or it'll fall back down, or it won't come down right. Yeah, there's springs are kind of critical that way. Do we have any spring stock here?
I have a whole bucket of it there, but it's all...
Do you have any of these?
Probably not.
Tension springs?
No.
There's a couple different kinds of springs. These are compression springs. A compression spring
You don't want to go in there.
A compression spring is one that, in order to make it work, it compresses.
What are you doing over there?
Let me get a spring out.
Pull that mess out.
We are going to expand this into our...
Yeah, we're working on it. We got a big old thing
yes.
there.
Well, what I wanted to show you is, now this is a tension spring.
I see it.
Yeah, and a compression spring would be something like this. This is a flipper turn spring. Compression, of course, is this way. Tension pulls. It's the exact opposite.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I want to show people that loop of spring. Let me get my side cutters.
Hurry up. We're almost out of time.
5 minutes is up. Oh, man. Most people don't know how, if you have a misshapen spring in one of these,
Which you most of the time will.
yeah, they don't know how to deal with it. Let's see. Here's a good example. This is what I see a lot.
Oh my.
And this is boogered on both ends. Yeah, this is no good. Now this happens to be a stern lockdown bar return spring.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a bad end to a spring, you want to take a pair of side cutters and you cut off the bad loop. Now you have that.
Wear your safety goggles or be careful because that thing can fly around and hit you in the eye.
Oh, yeah, you got to get your finger over it. The correct way to reloop a spring is to put an end on it, leave the open end here, put slight tension on it with side cutters, and take your finger, or if you're not comfortable with that, you could use needle nose. Now what I did here is I made a correct loop. It's in the center, and that's how you do a spring. Most people don't know it. You have to be an old ACM guy.
What is that?
Adding and calculating machines.
What is that?
That's what I did for 30 years, office equipment. But most people don't know how to dress a spring, that's what it's called. Okay? And that's how you do it. And then you can make your loop open here, more or less, cut it off, and get what you want. You don't want to make it too far, it'll fall off.
Fall off, yeah.
But that's how you dress a spring, that's how you turn something useless into this. Now if you want to have a closed loop like what this was at one time, there again you would cut the bat off. And if you want a double loop like what that was, you just take your side cutters and move it over. Now you got a repaired spring. That's what that used to look like. This gets bolted to the cabinet, and then this goes to the lockdown bar. So you can dress a spring any which way you want.
Okay.
If you know how to do it. If you don't, it'll look like everything bad, and
Big
then
mess.
you destroy the spring. Like people that do this, they stretch it, and now it's no good.
Okay. What's
But
that got to do with this drop target? Well, anyway, we've got
Well,
we've
it
got
has-
3 good springs on here, so that's a good thing.
It has to do with this lightweight stuff here.
Yeah.
Now here you're dealing with, this is important. See this spring loop is on the side of the spring, on the end of it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's important because you don't want it in the center like this. It's going to pull differently. You're going to want your loop, that's why they did it on the side on this. Because of the way it's pulling on the target, if you put it in the center,
A bind.
yeah, it might bind, yeah, and you're going to, it won't work. That's why they did this. So there are several ways to dress a spring. That's how you do it. You need a pair of side cutters. And if you're not comfortable holding the thing with your fingers to bend it, because tough springs are harder, these are very easy. You don't really need pliers to hold the coils. You can actually do it with your hands.
When was the last time you saw a spring as brutal as the one on my windshield wipers on the Corvette?
Yeah, well, that's really strong. Yeah, no,
That was ridiculous.
right.
Okay, well this is a big
Back to
dirty
this.
mess.
Yeah, back to this. You unhook your springs, and now your target is held on by just this link and this,
Probably more E-clips.
yeah, an E-clip and
So dirty,
a
can't
lug.
see.
And the lug goes all the way through here, and the shoe is actually directional and goes this way. On Bally's, you can actually take the bottom of the target assembly off, and you can drop the target through with, you don't need to take the link off.
Well,
On these early sterns, you actually have to pull the shaft out.
Yeah, we'll have a Bally on the bench before the end of this video.
You don't really want to go taking too much of the framework apart here. There's adjustments involved, and it's more complicated than just pulling a shaft out. And a lot of times that's what you got to clean anyway. So in this case, I'm going to say that it's better to pull this shaft out, leave the end on over here, just loosen these two screws here, and then you're going to want to take this keeper off. And then your washer.
Here's another thing that's nice about
lug.
working on the bench instead of in the machine, is when that stuff falls out like that, you can maintain it instead of hunt for it.
Yeah, you can take a picture of it. You can actually see wear marks where stuff goes. It's not a big deal, you know. And then the lug goes, you know, through here, and then it goes through the other part. It goes on like this.
Okay.
So with that said, then you pull this out. This is why you want to clean.
Dirty mess.
Yeah, you can see that this is hard wear. It's been played like it actually grooves the shaft. So if you clean this with glass bead, it'll smooth everything back out. This is got ridges in it.
Which is okay, because that's where the spring's going to live anyway.
Now you are free to get your target away from here. With the exception you have to take this.
Another E-clip.
Yes. And don't stretch E-clips too much to get them off. If you spread them,
You'll break them.
well, yeah, and they
Or
won't
fatigue
grip. You
'em,
got to
yeah.
redress them. Then you got to recrimp them back together. They're hard to deal with. They're so named an E-ring because they have an E shape to them. You know, if you look at it.
Well, the way from where I'm looking at it, it looks like a U right here.
No, it's an E.
Here, I'll turn it this
There
way.
you go.
Now it's an E.
They're E-rings. They're actually spring steel and they're very thin. That's your lug.
Okay.
Now this will come out of here. Notice it's facing this way, not that way. It's notched here. So that has to go back in the way it came because this notch does something. Namely, when the target's in here, now this target is ready to come out, it lifts straight out. When this is in the target and it's going up and down, you might see the arch that goes into that cutout.
Yeah.
If you put it on the other way,
It won't work.
it'll actually create,
It won't work.
no, it won't work very well. It'll create that. Yeah, it won't work. So you could put this back together and have this little thing upside down. Everything else looks fine. And without that cutout, it's not going to work. Bally didn't do that. They didn't make these as intricate. Their design is a little better.
Yeah, we'll have that on the bench later. So there's a dirty, nasty jump.
Yeah, usually they break off right here, you know. They get brittle as they get old. Plastic, this stuff. They very rarely break down here, although they will, because look how thin the material is here.
Yeah.
So they will break here once in a while. Mostly up here though, because the ball hits it and it keeps flexing it right here and it breaks.
Okay, so the next two targets coming out are the same procedure, and we'll cut back to the next step momentarily.
Yep.
Okay, Ray, we're fully stripped. That cutaway, it really only took, well, it certainly took under 5 minutes. It actually took about 90 seconds. So here we are fully stripped. We're not going to take that apart any further at this point because there's no need to.
Right.
And we're taking this this pile of parts over to the glass beater, which will take under 5 minutes.
Yeah, medial blasting is good. You can either use glass beads, walnut shells, or if you really have something rusty, you can use aluminum oxide, which is very abrasive. We have ours loaded with glass beads.
But in this case, for general homeowner, if you take this to your utility sink, some awesome orange or awesome yellow or
Scotch
fantastic
break
or
this.
whatever,
Get the roughness off.
a brush, you can clean this. You can clean this up by hand,
Yeah.
and it may take you more than 5 minutes because the glass beater's gonna clean this up quickly. And we'll cut back to a pile of clean parts here in just a moment.
Let's
Okay, we're back. Who's talking here?
It's the key from chasing parts.
This is Mike's Tech's videos.
Mike's Tech.
Here we have, where did we get, what is this blast cabinet? We got this, another advertisement for Harbor Freight. They should send me money. You know, the one guy ran out and got himself a bench buffer after what were we polishing that day? We were doing shooters. He went out and got one of these little Harbor Freight bench buffers, and he's now enjoying polishing all of his stuff. So at any rate, this is a Harbor Freight job. It wasn't very expensive. It was maybe what, 150, 200 bucks.
Yeah, probably.
You have to put a little shop vac with it. That's probably a $50 shop vac at most. You do need a compressor with some CFM,
right,
to handle this. So at any rate, take us through what you're doing here. You have a little bucket there, which is nice to keep your small parts in, so that they don't go down in the media, and then you're in there with a magnet on the stick trying to dig them back out.
Right. There's a couple ways to do it. You know, if you're delicate with it, you won't use the air to blow these around. Some people put a piece of screen, you know, a coarse screen on here.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, and then you can just go at it and they tumble around.
I need that. Put that on my Christmas list. I need that.
Yeah, well, my blaster at home is a lot bigger than this, but that's what I do when I do small stuff at home. And I change the media in my stuff at home. I have aluminum oxide, I have one shells, I got glass beads.
Well, for people that don't know us here, we do operate two shops. The retail store here is behind the back wall of the hardware store, and we do a lot of refurbished work here, and the projects land here, and we have some duplicate equipment, like we have a blast cabinet here and a blast cabinet there.
Yep.
But like you said, it's different media. You do the heavy blasting there, and this is for the quick work. Your blast cabinet's also not a Harbor Freight job. It's
Eastwood.
Yeah, it's bigger equipment, and you got bigger compressors there.
Yeah, it's for my automotive hobby, but I have a lot of tools and machines at home that.
And of course,
for fabricating metal and such.
Your main bench setup for circuit board repair is there.
Yeah.
You can't duplicate all of that, but
no.
But I can't spend 7 days a week in your basement either. Nor do we want the trampling of tire kickers and everybody else coming to see machines. You know, we don't want to run a retail location out of your house either. And thankfully it's 2 minutes away that way, and I'm 2 minutes away the other way, so we can be more efficient that way. Anyway, blast this stuff.
It's always been my motto: if one's good, more's better. So I like multiple of everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
We like long tech videos because people want to hear what you got to say. You know, I'm glad his was under 5 minutes, because if I had to listen to him for more than 10 seconds, I'd gnaw my arm off.
You know it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, okay.
Well, I'm gonna clean this.
No, don't turn that on. You can do it without that.
Yeah, but.
And I turned the compressor off. You got enough air there. I want to hear what you got to say. You were telling me about a movie last night that I'd never seen. What was it?
Oh my, Faster.
Faster.
It was all right. I actually liked it.
Faster than what?
Well, it was just called Faster. Dwayne Johnson in it.
The Rock.
Yeah. And Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay. Wasn't he married to what's her face for a while?
I don't know, was he?
I think he was.
I don't follow Hollywood too much. A little bit.
You ain't got time for that.
What's her name?
Not Jessica Alba.
I don't know that.
The crazy girl. Okay. Trivia. Who was Billy Bob Thornton married to? It was that crazy lady from. No offense, crazy lady. She did them Laura Croft movies.
Oh yeah, the Tomb Raider movies.
Yeah, the Tomb Raider movie.
Me.
Yeah, that
What was her name?
That lady. Oh well.
Really?
Somebody will know. Jimmy will get it.
Jimmy.
I'll be seeing Jimmy later today. I got to go back over there and take another attempt at that Medieval Madness video. I don't want to talk about how that went last night.
It's a hard game, complicated game.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. So Faster, what was the premise?
He was a bank robber. He was the driver for a bank robbery with a bunch of people, and his brother was one, and somebody ratted on him, and he got thrown to jail. His brother got killed.
Oh no!
And then he was out of jail to have revenge. That's what the whole thing was.
I'm assuming that Billy Bob Thornton was the bad guy.
Yes, he was. He was the rat. He was the guy that was the informant and ratted on the other guys because he was a cop that gone bad, and he planned the robbery, and he made it look like it was not him, and the other guys were just bank robbers.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Neat movie.
So the Rock beat up on everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
And he drove a Chevelle, 72 Chevelle. And they never really pay attention to car movies because you see the car has a Hurst shifter in it.
You're right.
Vertical gate Hurst shifter, right?
Automatic?
No.
Okay.
The
Hurst,
vertical Hurst,
okay.
yeah, the short vertical gate shifter where it has the little pull up for reverse.
Okay.
Yeah, old tech.
But yet he never shifts the car?
No, it's the soundtrack is automatic.
We mentioned Smokey and the Bandit the other day. In the original, the soundtrack is a stick shift, but the car's an automatic. Yeah. Well,
why couldn't they pay attention?
Because they didn't care, and they were trying to shoot it in under 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, when you're in a hurry, things things
don't turn out so good.
Well, you miss things and you leave things out, and you just can't address everything in 5 minutes or a set amount of time. What I like to do is I do something until it's done. I'm not worried about time. If you're worried about time, don't start on this. It's time consuming. Repair. Everything from ordering the parts to putting them in to knowing what you need, everything's time consuming with this hobby. So if you're in a hurry, don't even have it as a hobby.
Well, the two of us certainly never punch a clock. We get up, we come to work, and we work till we fall over. And then you go home and watch a stupid movie, and I get to hear about it.
Yeah, I like them little movies.
Although recently I've been doing a little bit of the same. They've got this Epix Drive-In movie channel where it's just all bad movies. The kind of place where you'd see that movie Rubber. Yeah. In fact, I think that's where I saw that hobo with shotgun, which I didn't think was as bad as you billed it as.
It is. It's terrible.
It was okay. It was bad, but it wasn't like the worst movie I ever saw.
I wish I could have seen less than 5 minutes of that.
You're about out of air because I turned the air off so it wouldn't be interrupting us here.
More air.
Okay, well we'll cut back to the finish of this. You're about done. Be right back, folks. Touchdown Eagles. Oh. Okay, we're back. Done with the blast cabinet. You got all your parts are clean. We got the new targets here. Oh, that looks a whole lot nicer.
Yeah. Note when you're doing anything with a spring, indirectly glass bead it. You see these got cleaner. They're not rusty. But don't hit the spring hard with the glass beads or any media.
Because you'll deteriorate it.
Yeah, it'll stretch it, and then it's worthless. So you want to like hold back on it. But you can see what this media blasting does for stuff. It just cleans the surface and cleans all the little areas, makes things smooth again, and you get rid of mechanical disadvantage, because when you have a bind in anything that has several parts, it's harder for the mechanism to work. If you have enough binds across 3 or 4 points,
Failure.
It won't work.
Yeah.
So you can see how nice that it gets everything. It won't harm plastics. There again, you just back off on it. You know, there's no really need.
Yeah, you don't go at it aggressively, but
No.
you just. Okay, so you come out of the blast cabinet and you've got glass beads in this stuff, which it will in itself cause binds.
Yeah, you have to air out with just plain air. You have to air everything off.
Blow it out.
Yeah, get the dust off everything. Yeah.
Okay, now that we've defeated the fine efforts of Mr. Galvin, you know Mr. Galvin.
Well, I don't go hard enough on this to take that off. This is exactly what it appeared when it was made brand new. It's still on there.
Okay.
If you look close, you'll see a color difference. The galvanized is still on here. This is actually what the metal looks like.
Okay.
And of course it's bare like this. So yeah, the galvanized is still on here.
So you're happy with those parts as is. You're not going to soak them in WD or anything like that. Okay.
Now I would WD things. You'd put it on a rag. You don't want to make anything wet because dirt will attract on here and you're back at a bind. You can put a coating on it, the shaft if you want, on the plate, and on your pivot.
All that stuff, just a real thin coating.
Mm-hmm. On your pivot bushings, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, that would work. But I wouldn't go soaking it in WD unless you spray it off, but then you're going to attract dirt, and I don't think
Make a
it's
mess.
really not necessary. If you're going to put this thing in an environment where this is going to rust, it shouldn't be there anyway.
Yeah.
These things are electronic and mechanical, and they're intricate in build. They don't belong in a garage with no dehumidifier. They don't belong outside in a shed. They don't belong. They belong in.
You find them there though, don't you?
Yeah, they don't belong in an uncontrolled environment. They won't work very long. A working one will fail.
Okay. So the reassembly of this is going to be really the exact opposite of what you just did.
Yeah, it will. You'll put your. This plate is the other end of the switch assembly. They didn't tap the metal, but don't forget to put it in, because if you don't, once you put targets in, you ain't gonna be able to get that back in.
Can't get to it.
No. So now is the right time to put your targets in with that plate, and that plate will flop around. It won't go anywhere. This is a stern only type thing. Bally did not do that. The targets go forward, and then just leave that sit down at the bottom. And space your springs out.
It's funny that you mentioned that. It used to be, when I first started doing shop jobs and all that other stuff, I was real careful to lay the parts out in the order that I took them apart, and I would take 1,000 photos of everything. And then I found that I was losing so much time in just doing that. And of course I'd never take the right photo. The photo would almost show me what I needed to see when I went to put it back together, but not.
People do that. They do. Photograph stuff.
But now that I've done 100 of these things, you find that they're all kind of put together the same way.
Yeah.
So now I just go ripping. I just take everything apart, sort it out, and put it back together. But part two of that is what you were just saying there is I'll find that not more often than not, but a good portion of the time I'll put something together in the wrong order and have to take it apart again.
These are easy to put in upside down.
Or I'd put that in upside down and then take it back. But that's part of the learning process. Is you only put it back together wrong once, and then you kind of hopefully remember that for the next time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to remember, so sometimes you don't. If you do it wrong, take it apart and redo it. It's no big deal. It's not like this stuff is made to come apart once and it's going to fall apart. Today's electronics are generally that way. Remote controls, VCRs, DVDs, well, not VCRs, but DVDs.
What's a VCR?
Any electronic consumer component like a TV or anything, they're hardly made to take apart. They've got plastic little cleats and whatever catches that you want to call that hold things together. They're made to go together, not come apart. This stuff you could take apart.
Yeah, it's generally serviceable.
Sure.
But not all the old stuff is serviceable. You try to restore a jukebox, let me tell you, those things are put together to be one and done too, because they didn't want them to rattle. And stuff is stapled and nailed, and
yeah, that's because that's a highly cosmetic device. These are not. Pinballs have less cosmetic
detail,
issues. Detail to deal with. Jukes are like a car. There's more cosmetic details to deal with. Yeah, that goes with that type of thing.
Okay. Well, here I was yapping, and you got all the springs reattached.
Sure. Yeah.
You got all those in. Don't know if they have a technical name, those pieces right there.
The links, connecting links, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
You just position your parts, and then your next concern is actually going to be to get this in. You got to lift this up to get it underneath that, but yet we got the Eagles on there. Doing all right.
We're in Eagles country here. We got a new coach. I don't know what to do. So far, so good, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a better area in the Philadelphia area when Philadelphia sports are doing good.
Yeah, people are generally happier.
I know the route operators love it when the sports do good.
Oh, because the bars are busier and yeah.
Yep. I don't know if my buddy Kurt watches, but
Which Kurt?
Kurt Arbitman.
Don't know him. Ace Vending.
Yeah. ACE Vending.
Yeah, we like Kurt.
Yep. But he told me that, and he said, "Boy, things are good when Philadelphia sports are going good." Anyway, this is what you do to get this through. Once you get your targets and this shaft back in, then you're pretty much situated to put your links back on. This goes here. Now next you're going to put your logs in the back, and they go in this way. I don't think they matter which way they go.
No, it probably doesn't.
But if you remember, they went in that way. That's another reason why you should have this tool. As you can see, placing this stuff is extremely easy with this tool.
That's a surgical tool is where that really came from.
They're called Bandaged Pliers. They are stainless steel, and they have teeth.
And there's different shapes of them and everything.
Yeah, this is a small pair. They're also suture holders. You know, you clamp something with them, and then they stay on it.
Nice. They probably get that at Harbor Freight more than likely.
You
Maybe.
get something like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. These were from hospital. I got. They're only allowed to use them so many times in an operating procedure and sterilize them so many times, and they throw them out.
Yeah.
Years ago, I got about 200 of these.
Nice.
Harrisburg Hospital. Anyway.
Let me guess, you were servicing their copiers or their typewriters.
Konica 1803 copier.
What is that? Anyway, I don't want to know. Okay, so we're almost done putting this back together.
Yeah, that's one interesting point. This stuff has an interest. Old office equipment does not.
Well, that's why you're doing this thing, because your original career just kind of went away. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to restore old office equipment, but this stuff they do.
Well, you know, if they did, we could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how to do that. This will go here, and as you remember, the washer went in here, and then this went here and there. That's for build.
Okay, now you're
Different style E-ring. These three went in there. This is the smaller one. A couple ways to put an E-ring on. If you've got enough finger for it, you can do that.
Yeah, I usually grab a screwdriver or push it on with a screwdriver.
Yeah, or you could use these to hold it. A screwdriver's nice. You have to have good dexterity to do this, because you'll slip off or the thing will go whiz. These are spring steel, so if you don't get it directly on, it will
fly across the
You'll
shop.
never find it. No. In here, it's a little more difficult. In the day of repairing equipment, they had E-ring installers.
Really?
Yes, keeper installers. I have those at home. They were office equipment only devices. They have actually, the E-ring tool looked like a spring hook, only it was flat, and it had a captive end on it, and you just shove it on.
Neat.
And it had a pull end to pull it off.
I need that. Put that on my Christmas card list, or my my wish list.
I like to generally use.
Here, can you see around me?
Yeah. I like to use needle nose.
Okay.
You can use smaller ones. These are actually really large. You can get right in that part of the E-ring, hold it, and you can put it on.
Nice.
That's the way I like to do it. You could also do it with a screwdriver, but it's very hard. If you have room for this, sometimes you don't.
Again, advantage of working on the bench instead.
Yeah.
That would have looked harder if you were trying to do it in the machine.
Well, you know what? manual dexterity is a gift some people just don't have. I have a lot of years in dealing with small
Well, it just
stuff.
comes with doing it. Okay. Well,
This will go back here.
we're gonna cut away here, Ray, 'cause if you see that,
We're over 5 minutes.
no, yeah,
Might get off the-
we're way over. I got 1 minute of film left, and this thing was blank. So, and you know what? We still got to do the Bally's and the Williams and all this. This video is gonna be 4 hours long. And you know what the funniest part about it is that shout out to Todd, Frank, Kurt, and Steve. They're all going to watch it in its entirety. So we thank them for tuning in.
Well, if they get something out of it, I'm glad to help. You know, like I said, you always learn from anybody. I don't shut my mind off to anybody. Right. What I'm doing here is I'm indexing the shaft. These were straight across from each other. And this end has to be connected to that. And you want a little bit of side play in this. You don't want to bind it up. So you get near tight on it. And then this is what resets your targets.
What's that say?
Out.
0 minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, Ray, I grabbed camera number 2. And where are we at here?
I clean my playboard underneath.
Assembly's done and ready to go back in. Mm-hmm. I do also want to talk about or want you to talk about the switches as far as adjustments concerned and how they the theory of operation on them. I know with those with the Williams, the brush switches are designed so that it passes, so that there's no two switches closed on the machine at the same time. Right. I don't know if this is the same or not off the top of my head, but you can explain to us how that works. I assume that the switch probably does not stay closed. It does it contact on the way through, and then there's another switch for all three being down, or how do they do that on this?
They stay closed on these.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's able to compute that.
Yeah.
The Williams of this same era were not.
Right. They had some kind of live matrix where it didn't want to see that. It wanted to see a pulse.
Yeah.
And it remained open, closed, open.
And
these don't work that way. You can see this. If a target goes down, you're open, it's closed, and it stays closed.
Okay.
Yeah. Bally designed and Stern designed theirs that way. I don't know. It's just a different technique.
Okay. This is simpler. Mm-hmm. Natural Progression, who by the way is thoroughly on our team now, because the other guys, do you know? You probably didn't even know that. You don't even know this yet. Watch the reaction on your face. You ready? Mm-hmm. The other guys are stalking our videos, which is evidenced by their recent tech video and all that other stuff. At any rate, they saw some of the nice comments that Natural Progression was leaving on our videos, and they blocked him from commenting on their videos because of it.
Oh.
You believe that?
Interesting.
He got blocked. He was upset. He sent me a message last night. It's kind of funny. Well, we got some dead time in there. What are we, I'm lost, Ray.
Well, I got to finish cleaning up this part. And I like to wipe the coils off a little bit. I got to resolder.
Oh, I know what I was thinking. Natural Progression. What he was telling us before I got sidetracked there and then lost my thought. He was having an issue with a drop target, or several of them, just reporting like crazy when he was playing his game. I don't know. I think it was a Daddy East or whatever, and it turned out to be a situation where the targets are down, similar to what we were seeing here with the switch being closed in the down position, but the switches were either poorly adjusted or dirty, and it was getting an intermittent report of the switch being down just from the ball bouncing around on the playfield.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
So on these drop target switches, I had it on the Trident out there recently too. It's important that they be adjusted properly and be clean, so that you're getting, when they're down, you get a good solid closed, and when they're open, you get the opposite there, which is a good clean open circuit. Got that, Ray?
I do.
You knew that already.
You can wipe off the stretch lever ends.
Shout out to Rare Cool Items. You're probably next on the chopping block for those other guys, because you say some nice things on our videos. We appreciate that. They're gonna block you.
It's video, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I gotta resolder this. You can see
Oh,
somebody.
that looks like garbage.
I don't know what they were doing there. They left that. I probably resoldered 50 wires on this thing. It's had its share of bad work done over the years. These are the rebuilds.
That's flippers. We did flippers already.
Yep. Yes, this says 4. The display field underneath was terrible all over.
Okay, well, putting that back in is exactly the opposite of taking it out, I assume.
Yeah, it is. You're probably going to want to leave the switch assembly to the last, because it goes this way in the machine.
Well, it was the first thing you took out.
Yeah,
So
and
you're
it
doing.
faces the outside, which is easy.
So
Some cases, like here, it faces the inside against stuff. It's
Right.
harder. You might want to do it first while you hold this. But in this case, you could do this, leave this hang.
We're clear.
Yeah, just put your coil back on and your end stop, and then bolt this to the playfield, then do that.
Okay, we'll do it.
It's a lot of mechanical.
You done yet?
No, I have to do another glass bead. I gotta clean this.
Oh,
But it's just mechanically common sense. Some of the stuff is not mystic. If you do a number of these, you'll be comfortable with it. If you're just starting out with a machine, you want to get into some easy stuff first. You don't really want to jump into something.
even this isn't so bad as long as you take your time with it and just
Well, there again, like
you can
I
enjoy
said,
doing it
you
as long
have
as you're
to
not in a hurry.
You have to have mechanical manual dexterity to do some of this stuff. If you don't, you're going to stab yourself with a screwdriver. You're going to ruin stuff. There's a little bit of technique involved. It's a mechanical thing.
But even beyond technique is patience.
Yeah.
If you're in a hurry, you will mess
But
things
the
up.
purpose of these tech videos are to show people what's involved with it, so they understand the time involved doing this stuff. It's not a 5-minute thing. It takes time. Each thing takes time. You have hours involved. A lot of the purpose of these tech videos for the advanced people are to show them maybe new things new techniques that they didn't think of. You know, I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of years, and then on the newbie part, or whatever you want to call it, the benefit to them is to show them how many hours and what's involved in this stuff, so they know when somebody comes out and does work for them, or they buy a machine, this is what the price of that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Everything on our floor.
It's what it's commanding.
Yeah. The price is what you're paying for is the parts and labor. A lot of like the Sea Witch and of course the real representatives out there are like Hot Tip and that old Stern Dracula. Those machines when they came in here were worth $0. They were worth nothing.
Correct.
And the price of the machine is the parts and labor involved in doing all this.
I have the stand-ups on order. This is what the original ones
Okay,
look
that's
like.
not drop targets. We'll do stand up some other time.
But condition of machine is what you usually
Yeah,
see.
so they're all worn out. Okay, well, you're gonna go back to the blast cabinet. I'm not following you there, and
Well, this is just the first segment of the drop target thing, and it'll be added to as we need.
yeah, we're gonna put the Bally's in there, and we'll show the Williams, those brush style chumpies,
Yep.
and maybe something modern. I'm gonna cut away here. We'll come back to this being installed and just show you a quick picture of that, and follow up with the Bally's and the Williams and Daddy East and whatever else we got laying around here.
Correct.
Be right back with you.
Oh, wait.
Okay, we're at the very end of this, Ray. Whatever you just did, do it again, because this is a don't try this at home. What was that?
That was
You're a nut.
too many years of working on copier fusers.
All right. Well, since you burned yourself already, show everybody what you just did.
Well, there was too much solder on here, so I just wiped it off. Yeah.
Ow. That hurts.
No, it don't. Well, it doesn't hurt me, but anybody else, I don't think I do.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. There was too much old solder on there. What I was doing was cleaning it off. And
With his thumb.
And this type of work,
That's a mess.
I
Yeah.
gotta cut out. So what you do is you take side cutters and you just cut.
Cut the crap off.
Yeah, and you don't need that big of a lead. This is really all you need as far as a
Just a
lead
little nub.
wiring go. Yeah. I don't know why people don't dress wire right. You know, you got plenty of length here. Then you're gonna want to tin the wire.
We are soldering again.
Yep. It's part of it. There's a good bit of this work is solder. Okay,
That's just a case of it, when you're working on a section of these machines, you address what's there.
right. And then what you have is your drop targets.
Okay.
And they're going to work better when the machine is not this way because the
Well, yeah, because they pull down.
Right. So that's what it is.
Okay. So there we have all. That was a lot of drop targets you did on this one, right?
Yeah. There's. How many is there? 8 dozen?
I don't know. 8, 4, 4, and 3. However many that is. I was up till
11.
4 o'clock in the morning.
11.
Okay, folks. That's all on the stern. We'll be back. Well, either prior or after with the Williams and the Bally's and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah. No doubt.
All right, we're just tacking an ending on this thing, Ray.
Right.
We showed your bucket of drop targets. What are you doing? We did the Sea Witch drop targets. Is that game going to be done one of these days?
Yeah, I'm working there.
You know, it's not like you have every friggin' thing possible to replace on it. So we're just tacking an ending on this thing. Who you shouting out to this week, Ray?
Silver Ball Museum, the people down in Asbury Park.
Oh, why is that?
They're watching our videos and made nice comments about them, and
yeah,
thinks they're informative. And
somebody said, well, you know, I
we're gonna have to.
haven't actually seen any comments from them, but I got a comment from somebody referring to them saying that they were watching our videos. I don't know. But have you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
I have also never been there, but from what I understand, New Jersey's not that far away. Maybe we take a road trip down there. Well, I wonder if they would invite us to come visit them, and I bring the camera and we can walk up and down their line and talk pinball.
Yeah, Asbury Park. It's just down the street.
That would require us to take a day off, though. I don't know if we can afford that. We're small business. Okay, you shouted out to somebody. What's the other question? Oh, what are we doing? What's next week's tech tips? What do you got in mind?
I guess it's going to be episode
14. We've been doing this for 14 weeks now.
Wow.
We're
It's going to be connectors.
Okay, why is that?
We had a request for it.
Okay, connectors.
Yeah, connectors and what it means to connect one device to another. Headers, connectors, wiring.
Edges, Molex, and all
we'll go
that
over
fun
the
stuff.
different kind, yeah.
And the tools
Some of the little
involved.
tools you can afford to have. Some of them are expensive. Some are economical, and it'll get the hobbyist by.
Very common pinball failure, though.
Yeah, there's reasons to have them. It's what makes the devices serviceable. You don't want to solder the wires to the boards because you cannot get things apart.
Well, we see that way too often. You see that in the
'cause
field too,
you
don't
have
you?
people avoiding to do it correctly because they don't have the resources to do it. They don't know they can get them.
Okay, so connectors, and maybe we'll squeeze in part 2 of the multimeter. We meant to get back to that, but it didn't really fit in very well with drop targets.
Yeah, we went over a lot of that the last time though.
Yeah, we
There's
did.
really not too much to go over other than amperage, how to use the amperage.
Okay, so shout out Silver Ball Amusements. Next week, connectors and multimeter part 2. Sunday. Everybody already knows that I failed, and I did, Ray. I failed miserably trying to shoot a video of Jim's Medieval Madness. I was there 3 nights in a row till after midnight, and I could not beat it. I don't know, today's Thursday and I'm still hurting from standing in front of that pinball machine that long.
Wow.
So everybody who thinks that I'm the best pinball player on the East Coast, I'm probably the 5th best. So I'm not going to go attempt to do that again this week. I don't know really what we're going to shoot. Maybe we're gonna take something easy. I'll redo the hot tip, or I don't know. Tune in for it's going to be a surprise because I haven't really decided yet. But we're happy to see you on Sunday. We're happy to see Ray. We've got a ton of new subscribers, so hi to everybody there. We encourage you to chime in, let us know who you are, what you got, what you think, all that stuff. We appreciate your participation. Glad to have you aboard. Ray, wave bye-bye to the people.
See you next week. Stay tuned.
Ray, you need that in your basement. Watch, I can make him drain. You're having a really good ball.
Hi, we hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Want to know what's coming next? Go like us on Facebook right now. You can keep up to date with all of us here at the shop and what we've been up to. Thank you for watching.